Greetings, greetings. Let's see here. I know a few of you have names, so Ignacio, new faculty member, welcome. Leola, kind of a returner, welcome back to you as well. And JB Marr, I do not know what that stands for, so I'll just say welcome. Um, for this workshop, Jonathan. Okay, all right, awesome. Ah, got it. From the first session. That makes sense. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I will put the link to the worksheets that we're doing here, just like I did before. And this is, again, you need to use your MiraCosta uh, email as your way to log into Google. I recommend doing it through an incognito window, and then you can just use 2FA to authenticate. So I'll put the worksheet piece for here in the chat. If you're interested in kind of following along, you can also just follow along with the slides and jot things down on either a piece of paper or on your screen if you choose. I'll leave that up to you as individuals. So, Jonathan, welcome back. And I'm going to rename just so when I look at it, it says the name. Okay, there we go. All right, so welcome. No videos this time. Sorry, no Star Wars themed pension related videos showing you why we're in the big hole that we're in. But I do have a few questions as we start this session. Um, when you think about retirement, what words come to mind? You can feel free to put them in the chat, or you can also feel free to unmute and just say them. What's your plan to meet the financial obligations of retirement, and do you feel prepared or confident? How soon do you wish you could retire? I added that question after talking with faculty over the last 6 months. There seem to be a lot of faculty wanting to retire. Uh, Many who are a decade or more away from retirement and still are wishing they could retire right now. What amount of money be required to cover your expenses? How long do you predict you'll be retired? I understand that question six is a little bit morbid. How long do you predict you'll be retired is also a question of saying how long from retirement until you're not alive anymore. But it's a question you need to ask based on your family history. We can't control everything, but we can plan as if we kind of have, with statistics and actuarial work, we can kind of say, well, my family tends to live into their 80s. Um, I think I might have a shot at living into my 80s. So again, that's part of the prediction. And question eight, I've modified quite a bit as well. Has the return from the COVID pandemic, the proliferation of AI usage, or political changes, has that changed your thoughts about retirement in any way? And finally, what questions about retirement do you have? So I'll open it up if anyone is interested in sharing some of those. Feel free to put those into the chat. Not required, but I always like to kind of hear what people are interested in, especially for those of you who might be kind of newer to MiraCosta. How long until you think about retiring? Have you talked about retirement with a spouse or a partner? Is this the first time you're really sitting down going, "Oh, I might actually need to think about this"? Yeah, it might be. Well, I know Leo is driving, and Ignacio and Jonathan, I'm not gonna. First time to really think about it. Okay, well, I appreciate the honesty. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, it is interesting when you kind of sit down and really start saying, "Wait a minute, I might want to actually have a plan." I know we talk about like our students come, they take classes, and we want them to have an educational plan. That's a plan that would cover like the next 2 years, maybe three, depending on their major. This is much more daunting. And so it can be a little bit intimidating, at least at first, to kind of begin thinking, hey, what retirement? I have no idea. I'm so unsure. I I feel nervous or I feel like I don't know enough, so I'm just not going to do anything. That is the exact opposite of how to make a successful retirement plan. All right, so let's get into this now. I'll use the slides as a guide. I'll also kind of jot a few pieces down as I go, perhaps even using myself as an example. I'm going to grab a piece of paper that I can write down on so that, because right now my computer screen is going to be shared, so I don't want to double up on that. You're welcome to grab something to write with, or again, if you have a digital device, you can use that to kind of jot down your information on as we go. Now, some of this may be brand new, and if you are brand new at MiraCosta, like this is your second term, something like that, then some of this information is going to be, the numbers are going to be significantly smaller, and our approximation for the future will be significantly larger. Again, we're estimating with some of these pieces. But, oh shoot, my camera keeps going off. I don't know why. Sorry about that. Just kind of flicks on and off because I'm on a MiraCosta computer, so it cannot handle as much going in as it should. So what we've got is three things that you need to know in order to do the calculation of your pension. If you were in the first workshop, this is known as the defined benefit DB account, not the DBS account. That is the supplemental that occurs when you do any work above and beyond your minimum contractual requirements. So, three parts. Service credit, you can think of that as your years of service. We find that in your CalSTRS annual report. MiraCosta does not report that. That is done through the pension system, mycalstrs.com. Now, current service credit also will include any sick leave amounts. Sick leave can be converted into years of service. We'll go over that calculation because there is a little bit of a nuance in our contract because you will have two different types of sick leave. And stick around for workshop number 3, shameless plug, if you want to learn more about sick leave accruals, the different types, and pay rates. All right, so that's number 1 is service credit. Service credit comes from actually doing work or sick leave. Now you can also purchase what they sometimes call airtime. If you've worked at other institutions that were not qualifying under STRS, you can actually purchase years of service, but you have to pay back the amount that would have had to go into STRS for yourself and for the institution, and you would have had to do that for with the growth factors included over time. So remember that year that was like a 27% increase, you have to cover that as well. So a lot of people who think about doing this end up doing it over a few years. They find out how much it costs. The longer you wait to do that, if you're interested, the longer you wait, the more it will cost because you have more time that you would have had to be paying in, etc. So number 1, service credit. Number 2, age factor. It's not technically your age, but it is an almost linear relationship between your age and a number called the age factor. And it's in the 2025 member handbook, and it's also you can find it on the CalSTRS website if you want. And lastly is your final compensation. And what they do is because you'll be paid your pension monthly, they will be using your monthly base salary at the time you retire to do that. So I see Dawn, thanks for joining us. I don't recognize if you're full-time or associate, but welcome. Included here is the documents that we'll be kind of referencing. You do need to be in your MiraCosta Google account in order to utilize those. All right, so a couple pieces with final compensation. Again, it's the monthly base salary at the time you retire with a few caveats. If you have less than 25 years of service credit, then you use the highest 36 consecutive months. So it's a 3-year rolling window, depending on where your highest 36 consecutive months would be. If you have 25 years of service or more, then you use the highest 12 consecutive months rolling window. I do want to point out here that if you were in the last workshop and you heard me talk about something called the reduced workload plan, Remember, if you did like a 50% workload reduction, you will get paid only 50%. However, CalSTRS will calculate what you would have made base pay for the entire year, and that is what it uses in the calculation. So don't think that if you do the workload reduction, you really end up getting screwed twice. That's not correct. Okay. And you also, again, with workload reduction, you get a full year of service. You get a proportional pay, proportional sick leave, and many people find it to be extremely helpful as you get older. I want to be honest. I did put a note in here after the last few workshops. There's a misleading, um, I don't know if it's a rumor going around or people just talking, or if people are just kind of thinking, hey, this makes sense to me. But when you get closer to retirement, I've heard people say, well, I'm going to work overload in the years right before retirement because that's going to bump up my pension. We'll see today that that is not true. It is not included for your defined benefit. It will increase your defined benefit supplement, but if you're only doing it the last few years before you retire, you will have very little impact and almost no money coming from it. Again, it's about 8% that you're contributing and 8% from the district. So it's not, yes, it will be, better than nothing, but it'll be pretty close to nothing if that's the only time you choose to use that. So just be aware of that. Any work over your base contract is not included for final compensation. Okay, let's move on to service credit. All right, if you haven't been there, now if you're brand new to STRS, you've never been in a STRS covered position, you do not have to go through and do this, but I would encourage you to go to mycalstrs.com, log in with your username and password, and they did a major system update in September of 25, major, to the point that even if you were logging in regularly, you had to create a whole new registration. So if you're brand new, go and register now. So like people like Leola, myself, we've been here for a while. Again, if you don't log into that regularly, you may have to go register again. If you have registered after September 23rd of 25, you can continue to log in. We're talking about what, 4 months ago? So again, this is kind of important as you do it. What you do then is you choose the view your retirement progress reports. And again, the layout of this page is drastically different than what it used to look like. Trying to find things it's in different locations. So be very careful. If you haven't been there before, make sure you kind of take a little time to get used to the new layout. So anyway, retirement progress reports. And what you do when you click on retirement progress reports is you go to the one that is, this is what it looks like. Retirement progress reports when you click on it, and you will want to go to the one that is the most recent. You will get a retirement progress report for every year. So I could scroll up and down here if I was in the system. I'm not logged in right now at this moment, but it would show I could get a retirement progress report for each individual year. Click on the view piece and be sure that you um, don't have um, pop-ups blocked. It requires pop-ups now. It didn't used to, but it does now. PDF inside, and the new full year files tend to show up around September, just so you're aware. So if you find click on it. Again, I'm just showing these as what it would look like. These are screenshots. This is not the actual file. The file does contain information you may consider to be personal, so I just took a few screenshots to show you kind of what it is. But hey, we've got happy, smiling person who is apparently decades away from retirement. So we'll see how long the smile lasts. Again, the progress report will be accurate as of June 30th. So for many of you right now, if you look at your actual information, not the retirement progress report, you will see years of service that are higher because, again, you're accruing them as you go. Right now, you should have another half of a year because we're halfway through the 25-26 year. Okay. So what you want to do is write this number down. When you scroll down in there, you will find service credit. Find the DB ending balance as of June 30th, 2025. That's where you'll see this number. For me, it is 14 years. Okay. So what does that mean? I have 14 years fully completed. I am in my 15th year, if that makes sense. Okay, so by the time I finish this year in May, then I will have 15 years of service. Okay. All right. If you are over 45, and I only say this because I realized that they started doing it after I turned 45, they start talking about how much money you could make with your pension, doing a very big assumption-based estimate. So what you'll see here is some of the things we're planning to go through, but they'll say if I retire at 55, which is the youngest I can in the STRS system currently, I'm over 45, then this is what they'll put in there. They'll put in a, hey, Scott, if you work 10 more years, here's your monthly only member benefit. So I'm going to highlight that because I think this is really important for all of you to see. Yours may be different, right? Let's just call it what it is. Yours may be different than mine. That's life. We have earned different salaries. We've worked different places. We have different years of service, etc. So what it says is if I make it to my retirement date, which is 6 years from now, my 14 years plus my 6 years will get me a total service credit of 20 years of service. My age factor is 1.4%, 1.43%. They're taking my final monthly compensation here with an asterisk saying, when was my biggest year? Well, my biggest year, in this case, they tell me is 22, 23. And that's not the current year. That's because back at that point in time, I was in a different position and was earning a different amount, but it based on that. Then they multiply the age factor times the years of service times everything else, and I end up at, look at this, $4,500 a month. When according to them, during my highest peak, I was earning $15,000 per month. That is a pretty massive gap. And honestly, thinking of affording California on $4,500 a month is problematic at best. Next to that, they'll give you a second calculation, which takes place at age 60. So at age 60, if you notice, now I will have 25 years of service. My age factor is now over 2%, meaning I will be earning more than 50%. Previously, it would have been about, because 20 times 1.4, around 28%. So this is about 28% of my base salary. This one's a little bit over 50%. All of a sudden, the amount of money coming in from my pension is around 8,300, which is significantly higher. Not double, but significantly higher. And again, I could continue working longer if I wanted to, and my age factor could get as high as 2.4%. So I want to show you this because if you're not looking at your documentation from STRS, um, when I first got here, they would physically mail me a packet. They stopped doing that to save costs. Now it is only up to you. You have to go log in. You have to go look for it. That's how you find this information. Okay. Now, please note, this calculation for what my member-only benefit is does not include sick leave turning into service credit. That would change my service credit, and it does not include the DBS account, which is that supplemental if I choose to work overload. Okay. So next up, what we have to do is this is where we got to get some information. And all of you are welcome to do this. Again, if you're at a full computer, like if you're on a cell phone, this is going to be a real challenge. I don't encourage you to do that, especially not if you're driving, Leola. So if you have a full computer, you would kind of have my screen open on one part, or you can kind of minimize mine so it's in a smaller piece, and then open up a browser window next to it and go log into Workday. In Workday, like if you need the link that gets you directly there, I think it's tinyurl MCC Workday, but again, you can just go to the website and type in Workday. It'll get you there directly. But what you want to click on is in the top left, there's a shortcut list of options. you want to go to the one that says manage absence. This is different than the past. They have changed this area quite a bit over the last year as well. So that's why all the slide decks had to be updated. Then it brings you to this screen, and what you want to look at is on the right-hand side. This is the Manage Absence worklet, but on the right-hand side, it does show your balances. So I'm going to zoom in on those. And this is my balances at this point in time. Okay, so let's take a look and see. Again, you may or may not understand all these components, but I'm going to do my best to talk you through it so you understand where they come from. The lowest thing on my list, I believe it's the lowest on all lists, is the base contract sick leave. I refer to that as contractual sick leave. You'll notice it doesn't say contractual or not. It simply says sick plan. That is your base contract work. So again, if you only work your base 15 LHE every term, this is where the hours go. And it's really days, but they measure it in workday in hours, but we'll get used to that. Next up, above that, if you work overload and summer, then you earn non-contractual sick leave. We're still waiting to see what the winter intersession will look like, but we will have a winter intersession coming in spring of 27, maybe winter of 27, who knows? But again, that could add here, or it could count as part of your load for spring. We're not sure. That hasn't been negotiated, not been finalized yet, even though the calendar has been finalized. And now you get primary days of instruction on Saturdays for all of us. I love it. I love that I'll be working more than 40 hours a week now. Thank you for making that decision for me. Okay. Top one is your banked time. It says banked time. This is your banked LHE. Please notice that it says hours, but it doesn't mean hours. It means LHE. That's lecture hour equivalents, not actually hours, but the system of Workday does not allow us to change that. So those are the three things you really want to take a look at. Personal necessity is honestly from the state level, it is a way to use sick leave, but they do cap it. So that's why you'll see those values here. For most people, it's probably zero, unless you have something that comes up that qualifies for personal necessity. And again, we can talk about that in the next workshop. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to write those hours down. You will have CSL and a total. So for me, I'll put 1336. For non-contractual sick leave, I see 693.9. And those do change on the non-contractual changes term by term. If you work overload, the sick plan changes every year. That's when the things come in. So what we have to do is we have to convert our sick hours to days and then convert those to years. So what we're going to do first is we're going to estimate our future contractual sick leave. How long between now and when you retire? So that for many people is different. This is a very personal type of piece that you'll put down that kind of reflects you specifically. So let's see here. I'm estimating 50 hours per year. Now, do understand that you, as a teaching faculty, will accrue 80 hours per year. If you are a counselor, you'll accrue 88. So what I'm doing is I'm making a very conservative estimate that you'll end up using about 30 hours per year, and you'll have 50 hours remaining. There are some big differences here. So if you are planning to give birth to a child, there's maternity leave, and there's also paternity leave as well, but it's a little bit different because the pregnancy piece has a different calculation. But many women will end up using a lot of their sick leave to get additional bonding time with their child when they don't have to come back to work. There is some paid time that doesn't require you to use this, but for a lot of people, it's kind of a nice way of, hey, I want more time with my child. Thank you. I don't want to have to go to meetings again right away. So take a moment. You could change this number if you want. You're like, I am never sick. I've never had a sick day. Cool. If you want to, you could put in the maximum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this through as if it was myself. So I have 10 additional years until I retire. So 50 times 10. Ooh, I got to remember one thing. It's 10 years after the end of this year. So because it wasn't counted in my years of service, I have to count this year now. So 11 years. So I will have 550 future contract sick leave hours. Again, I'm assuming that I'm going to use some of those. If at some point I'm going too quickly, please say something. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep trucking along. So I'm going to write that down on my little sheet. My future is 550 and the annual is 50 per year. So that's what I have written down for my contractual sick leave. Next up is my non-contractual. So you have to estimate how many hours you accrue each year until you retire. So what you do is you calculate how much LHE over the contractual minimum. Okay, so let's talk about that briefly. If you teach over the summer, or if you teach overload in fall and spring, that's what we're referring to here. And for each LHE, you get 2 hours of non-contractual sick leave. That's the way the contract reads. So let's see here. The maximum overload during a term is 8. Okay, so for fall, you could have 8, which would bring you up to 23 total LHE. For spring, again, you could have 8. And then for summer, the max is 9, but you can go up to 10 with the VP, and they almost always approve it. So I'll say 10. So the maximum, if it is possible for you to do in your department, would be 26 LHE over the contractual minimum. I usually teach a couple. I don't think I hit the maximum, so maybe summer I teach 2 classes, so around 9 in my department. And I'll say maybe these are 6 or 7, so maybe I'll estimate 6. And I'll put, I don't know, put 5 and 6. So I'm going to make the numbers add up nicely here. So this will be 15, so 20. So I'm going to say I do on average 20. And maybe that's my way of estimating that right now I plan on doing some more, big years where I put in extra work, but maybe closer to retirement, I might not be wanting to do as much overload work. Maybe I'm older, I'm tired, I just don't want to do that extra work. So let's see here. So this is going to be 40 hours per year. And let's see here. Okay, so multiply the yearly hours by years. So if I have 40 hours per year and I'm still going to retire in 11 years, then that would be 440 additional hours. 440, and mine is 40 per year. Okay. And just to show you what I'm doing, I'll hold it up to the camera here, but I'm just jotting these numbers down as I go. CSL, boom, boom, boom. Non-contractual, boom, boom, boom. So I just got them down for myself on a piece of paper. Um, let's let's keep on trucking. Let's see what we get. Now, the last piece that you have to do, this is where it gets kind of crazy a little bit, is you have to convert your years of service. You have to convert these, in sense, hours into years of service, if that makes sense. Because the state doesn't care about how many hours, they care about how many years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my numbers in. Now, right now, again, I think both of you are fairly new to MiraCosta, but you could have come from other schools, so you could transfer in your sick leave. I'll talk about that in the third workshop. But if you transfer in your sick leave, you will have a base that you can use, and you'll want to just check whether it's contractual or non-contractual in Workday. So I will enter 1336 plus my future, which is 550, and that's going to get me to 1886 for myself. So again, what I'm predicting is, I guess for right now, 10 and a half years into the future, I will have 1,886 sick hours. What we do is we convert that to days by dividing by 8. So I need to grab a calculator here. Let's see here, pop it up on screen. 1886 divided by 8. And that comes up to 235.75. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to jot that on my piece of paper. I'll come back and put it on the screen so people can see it. 235.75. Okay, there we go. And I will get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Oops. Okay, so those are days. No, we're not done yet. We just converted hours to days. For contractual sick leave, it is dividing by 8. For the non-contractual, you actually divide by 6. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to put in my non-contractual 693.9. My future was 440. And let's see here. That's a 0.93. So I end up with 1133.9, which I have to divide by 6. Again, 6 hours per day for non-contractual. Okay, so let's see here. 1133.9 divided by 6. Okay, so that gives me 188.98. That is days. Okay, love this. 188.98. Now, if you wanted to, you could. I said the CalSTRS does have some calculators. They expect you to know how many days of service you have. So just understand you will need to do this calculation regardless. The website will not do it for you because it's based on contractual amounts, not on anything that CalSTRS would know. Okay, so what is that? That is days. Okay, let's see here. Oop, jot these down. We're about to move on. We're going to need them for the next page. Okay, I got to clear my screen here. So now I add the days, which for me was 235.75. Here we go. So I'm going to add contractual 235.75 plus 188.98. And that gives me 424.73. And I'm going to put that down. So that is 424.73 total days. And what I have to do then is I have to put that down on my total days. So 424.73. Again, yours might be slightly different. Could be more, could be less. Now I need to convert it to years of service. So I'm going to divide by 176. So we'll bring back that calculator. Ooh, I think I closed it. Okay. So I'll bring back up a calculator and I divide. For me, I'm a teaching faculty, which means I am 176 days per year. If I was a counselor, I'd be dividing by 195. So again, that's up to your position. These are both based on the full-time faculty contract. So again, associate faculty, we have a slightly different calculation, but it would be somewhat similar as they also do accrue sick leave. So mine says 2.413. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. 2.413 is my years of service. Right. Now I need to include the future. So again, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to say, hey, we might have to go work a little bit longer. So what we're going to do is that really didn't come in where I wanted it to be. But anyway, I'll have to adjust that slide a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll take the annual added NCSL hours. For me, that was 40. I divide by 6. So again, all I'm going to do is put that down. 40 divided by 6 is, oh, good, 6.67 days added each year. And then let's see here. Annual sick leave for me was, I said 50 hours. per year divided by 8. So now I'll clear that and go 50 divided by 8 is 6.25. Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for your time on that. 6.25, I add those together. That gives me 12 point, what's it, 892. Okay, and I divide that by 176. So 12.92. Again, if you're a counselor, you divide by 195. Divide by 176 gives me, it doesn't seem like much. I know it doesn't seem like much, but we're talking about things that we multiply by later. 0.073. I'll leave it at that. That seems good enough to 3 decimal places. Okay. So my sick leave years of service would be as a base, that line should be up there, but 2.413. If I work one additional year, it will add this amount on. If I work 2 additional years, I'll put that number down for myself too. And again, I want to jot these down on my little piece of paper as we go. So let's see here. So what I want to take now is I want to take 2.413 and I want to add 0.073, which gives me 2.486. And then I'll just hit enter one more time and it'll tell me 2.559. So now I have my sick leave years of service for the year I want to retire, as well as the 2 subsequent years, so that I have all of that information. I didn't write it on the slide. Let me do that right now. 2.486 and 2.559. Goal is to get the most accurate estimate for your retirement so you can make the plans that you need to make. Okay. So again, for you, you'll have different numbers most likely. If you're just like, let me just follow along for now, fine, but this will be recorded. The slides will be available, and you can go back and do this for yourself if you kind of want to do it with more time, or if you want to work through it with a spouse or a partner, we can also do that. And sometimes, a lot of times, people will say, hey, Scott, can we meet up separately? I'd like to ask some more questions or just talk about where I'm at. And I meet with people quite often. So there's the 2.413. And we add that over and we get to the final amount. Okay, so I'm going to clear the screen. All right, my current service credit. My current service credit, if you remember, was 14. Yours might be different. Service credit through retirement, which is year of retirement minus 2025. So here's the idea. If you were to retire in spring of 2026, you'd subtract 2025 and get 1 additional year of service through retirement. Okay. Well, I'm not. I'm looking at 2036. Fingers crossed. So that would be 11, and that's what I'm going to put here. So my total would be the 14 plus the 11, which would be 25. Okay. So that's the actual amount of time I work. Now I take that and I add on those sick leave years of service. So if I want my retirement service credit, it becomes 27.413 or 27.486 or 27.559. So that's what I'm looking at. And I'm going to tell you, the longer I've been at MiraCosta, the more the how long until I retire, like what year, it's like getting closer and closer to present day. Not because I'm getting older, but because I am bringing that date back. I remember when I first got the job here, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! If I stay here long enough," and I was showing my wife, I said, "If I stay here long enough, my God, look how much money I can make in my pension if I work until I'm 73." Um, the longer you work here, the more you realize you don't probably want to be working here at age 73. All right. Next up, I'm going to put some tables on the screen. These are tables that will help you find your age factor at retirement. I'm going to ask that you write down three age factors, which is your age factor at retirement, plus 1 year and plus 2 years. If it goes off the table, you just have to use the maximum amount. Okay. All numbers are written without the percent symbol. This is really important. So if you see 1.760, it means 1.760%, so 0.0176. Just make sure you move the decimal two places to the left. That's how you can turn that into the age factor. Okay, I'm going to put this one up first. So, what does that mean? So let's see here. You find the year you're planning to retire. How old are you at that time? So I plan on retiring in May of 2036. So I will be 60 years old and 3 months. Okay. And you actually do need to find the month number. You can see it does change your age factor depending on when you're planning to retire. So I'm going to write down this number, which would mean if I retire at age 60, 2.033. If I wait 1 year, it'd be 2.167. If I wait one more year, it'd be 2.300. Those numbers are found just in the same column, just going up 1 year of age, if that makes sense. So write down those three numbers kind of vertically. Okay. I know not everybody is in the 2% at 60, so I'm going to leave this on the screen for just another moment. Okay, that's given you an opportunity. I'm going to switch now to 2% at 62. So again, try to figure out, hey, I've never thought about retirement. When would I want to retire? So you could just say to yourself, I'm going to retire at age 60. So when is your birthday during the course of the year? Because if you're going to retire in May, when you're 60, if you haven't hit your 60th, like, you're still 59, then you have to look at the lower number. Maybe it's 59 years and 9 months, then you'd be here. And you'd write down these three numbers. Okay. Oops. Sorry about that. Again, what is the maximum? It's 2.4%. I remember a time when I told myself, I'm going to go and I'm going to get that maximum. Um, but it requires years of my life, and you are trading years of your life for some amount of money. One of those you can make more of. I'll let you put those dots together. So again, if you are planning, maybe you're like, look, Scott, that's cool that you can do that, retire at age 60. I am just starting now this position and I'm 50 years old. I'm going to have to work for about 20 years to get there. Where's my age factor? Anything that is higher than 65, it just is capped at the 2.4. Okay, let's clear those off. So now you've got three age factors. Again, what we're doing is we're kind of analyzing what happens if this year, what about one more year? What about one more year? We're going to take a look at those as we go. All right, let's get ready for compensation. Compensation, the money we make. You used to have to do some math. Now you can just use Workday. So if you're still logged into Workday, that's great. What you want to do is log into Workday, click on your profile picture in the top right, and choose View Profile. So there's my wonderful picture. You can view your profile, and in your profile, you'll find compensation. You can see that the district has it in the system. I mean, nothing's hidden. I mean, I put an arrow there to kind of cover it, but it's just what's in the salary schedule. So there's nothing shocking there. I'm at class 5, step 24. So you'll find your annual base salary there. My class is right here. So class 5, step 24. That's what it shows. Now, if you're going to retire in 3 years, right? Add 3 to your step. because you're going to be working for 3 additional years. She'll be at step 27. Okay. Now, what I'm choosing here is I do not anticipate anyone at this workshop retiring within the next year. So what that means is you'll be on the most far out annual salary schedule. Okay. So for myself, remember it said in there, it said I'm 24 class 5. So where those meet is right here. Okay. There we go. Now you're going to say, hey, that's not my salary right now. I know, but this is my salary that I'm going to use as I go forward because it's the best salary schedule possible. Now, this is right now in 2025. Remember, I want to work 11 additional years. If I work 11 additional years, I would be off the chart, which means I'd also be capped by the end. So I will be using 196,857. And some of you are like, Scott, you should have gone for that PhD. You could be over $200,000 in income as a teacher. I said, yes. I ran the numbers, trust me. It was not going to pay off in my lifetime for what I was earning at the time. So anyway, so again, let's take a look. I'm going to clear my screen and let's take a look and say, okay, let's take a look at maybe another example of someone else. So if you are class 3, right now you're step 7, then this is the amount of money that you would make kind of 2 years down the road. And you say, okay, Scott, I want to retire in 15 years. Okay, so 15 years would put you down at 22. So what you would look at in your salary schedules, you'd look at this number as the retirement year, and then you'd write down +1 and +2, those different amounts. Granted, I think we probably will get colas between now and then, but I don't know what the cola is. And there's a chance, as we saw at Miracosta, we could have years without a cola, which does really suck. So this is a very conservative approach to estimating your retirement. It is better than what CalSTRS will be using because we know our future salary. And there we go. Okay. So everybody has a chance to grab their class and their step. And please note, I'm going to put a little highlighter piece up here on the screen. Um, if you are in this, I'll say down here, if you're in class 1 through class 4, um, you should look into the salary advancement committee. Most of you are probably in this range, class 2. Maybe you're already over. If you're at class 5, ignore what I'm saying because you already have a PhD. You're not going to get any higher. If you're a class 5 and you want to consider a PhD, I'll leave that up to you. Yes, it is an additional about 2,500 bucks down the road, 3,500 bucks down the road per year. So anyway, that's totally up to you. But if you're down in the class 2 to class 4, the salary advancement committee could allow you to take some coursework and move up a class. What's great about that is that when you do go up, you go up a class, but over the year you also go over. So even if like right now you're earning 130,000, the next year you could be earning 138,000 plus any colas that would come along. And if you do that a couple times, you could be down making what I would consider to be significantly more for some time investment and some cost, to take the additional coursework. But it's something you should strongly consider. I try to push everybody up as far as I can. Class 5 is probably the easiest and most attainable. But again, some people do want to shoot for that PhD. Finally, if your contract is more than 176 days, you have to multiply your salary that was just listed on that page by a time factor. Most of us, if you're teaching faculty, it's just multiply by 1, which means just don't touch it. You don't have to worry about it. And if you are a counselor, you multiply by 1.1080. Okay. So again, we saw for me, I was at the bottom of the pay scale. 857. That's what I would put in as my salary, multiplying by a factor of 1. Again, just a note, if you're in Workday, I think we had some counselors last time. The counselors said, hey, Workday provided me the full amount, so don't multiply twice. Yes, but the contract gives you the base contract amount, not including the time factor. I do bring that up because if you were looking to retire within the next 1 year, then Workday would give you your actual compensation. The contract would tell you what you would get the next year. Workday does not do that. Okay, so now we've got that dollar amount. All right, so here's the idea. You have one more calculation that you have to do, and that's taking your monthly compensation at retirement, whatever that is, 196, 857 for me, and I have to divide by 12 because that'll get me my monthly. A quick piece that links. Most of you, if you're teaching faculty, you're paid over 10 months. So by the time I get to whatever year that is, 2036, and I'm making $196,000 a year over 10 months, that means paychecks of 19,685. The pension is spread out over 12 months, so make sure you divide by 12 here. Some people have before divided by 10, and it artificially inflates what you think you're going to get for your pension. Your pension is paid monthly. Your pension is not paid 10 months out of the year. So that is also a good thing if you're trying to kind of budget money. You always have money coming in every month, not like what you get here. Also, if you're brand new to Maricosta, you should set some money aside for summer, especially if you don't plan on teaching. There are also some companies out there that you could work with. Um, let's see here. Schools First has a summer saver program and also a paycheck planner program. And basically, if you deposit your amount of money in that account, they will take a percentage of it and move it over to a second account that earns a nice amount of interest, to be honest, a really nice amount. And then what happens is then when you get to those summer months, they take the amount that's in this account, cut it in half, and distribute it. So if you are putting money aside into your pay stub, you'll basically kind of balance out your wages across the course of the year. Assuming that you're not talking about uh, overload. Overload is very unique, and I'll have to talk about that in the third session because we're already close to noon, and this one runs at until 12:30. So take your monthly compensation, divide by 12, and we are finally at a stage where we can look at, let's put everything together. Okay. So what does that look like? The at retirement is the first year of retirement. After that, this is like plus 1 year, and this is like plus 2 years. It's in the handout as well, but you're welcome to just kind of jot it down on paper if you'd like. So if I retire, right, according to plan, my service credit was 27.413. If I go one more year, that was 27.486, and one more year, 27.559. Okay, my age factor, I'm going to put it in the decimal form, was 2033. The next one was 2167, and the one after that was 0.02300. And then my final compensation will be 16,404.75. And remember, I'm at the base end of that pay scale. So unless we get cost of living, I will not be making any more than this. So I'm going to use that same number for all of these. If you were writing down the three numbers, you may have three different numbers for yours. And as a caveat, if you work less than 25 years, remember my retirement here showed that I would retire with 25 years of service. If I worked less than that, I would have to average 3 years of salary in each one of those package deals. 3 years here, then the next 3 years, then the next 3 years kind of thing. But once you hit 25 or more years of service, it's the single highest. And so I anticipate this will probably be close to my single highest amount. Now, again, I grab my calculator and off I go. I multiply these, and this will tell me my pension amount based on the information we provided. Okay. So if I retire at the age I hope to retire at, there it is. Okay. Now, for some of you, you're like, okay, that's pretty nice. It's about 10,000 a month. Yeah, you're right. That's pretty nice. Let's see what happens if I work one additional year. Now, notice what's changing. My age factor went up. That means I get a higher percentage for each year. My years of service went up. And the piece that I forgot to write down is I actually make this note if you don't make the mistake that I did. I also have one more full year of service. So I only added the partials on there. I should have added one more full year of service for each because I worked a whole nother year. So sorry about that. I did make that mistake today. Apologies. So now I'm going to multiply those numbers together. So 28.486, not 27, 28 times 0.2167. Okay. Well, let's see. Do I make more money if I work an extra year? The answer is always yes. The answer is always yes. And let's jump in here and I'll do the last one. Okay. And so here's the last one. There they are. Again, for yourself, it may look different than this. Again, your salary may also be increasing each year as you go forward. So I'll jot these down. 9142.47, 10162.51, and 11152.88. Now, I know for some of you, like, hey, that's a decent amount of math. Yeah, it is. A little multiplication along the way, but really never hurt anybody. So what does this say? If I work one more year, I make about an extra 1,000 a month. That's about $12,000 per year. I work another year after that, and it's another $1,000 a month, basically. So all of a sudden, I'm making 11,000 a month instead of 9,000. Would this be fantastic? Would I prefer to get this money over the 9,142? The answer is yeah, of course I would. However, that's years of my life when I don't really have that many left at that stage. Is it worth it or not? I'll have to leave that up to you. This is your member only benefit. Okay. Now, again, some of you may work overload. If you do work overload, which is over your base contractual minimums, you will accrue money in a DBS or defined benefit supplement account. It's different than the defined benefit. Again, the defined benefit has a cash amount. You surrender that and they start paying you your benefit. This one does not have that. It has a fixed account in it. It does allow, here's some key pieces. It does allow you to pay just a member only, or you can do beneficiaries just like your defined benefit. A defined benefit allows you to select beneficiaries at 100%, 75, or 50%, which means, let's say that I was making the $10,000 a month. If that was with a beneficiary at 50%, if I pass away, then my surviving spouse or partner would get $5,000 a month for the rest of their life. Many people, if not most, prefer to take the 100%. What it means is you will, instead of making 10,000, I will make a bit less, quite a bit less than the 10,000. But when I pass away, whatever I was earning, all of that goes to my surviving spouse or partner. So So you can do the same type of thing with your DBS account. Again, that's your supplemental. And that just basically means you could let it carry on in perpetuity. You can also choose some time certain ones, which is kind of nice. And time certain says, hey, I know I have a few more expenses. My home isn't paid off. I got 5 more years to pay off on my home. So maybe you pay this out over 5 years. What that means is you'll get an extra bump in your pension for those 5 years. Then your house is paid off, and then you don't have to stress anymore. Your pension amount would go down, but not in a huge negative way. If you wanted to check, you could find this on page 12 of the document that I sent out. However, if you wanted to just look on your screen, you could, I'll put the screenshot in here too. So here's the factor that comes up. So when you look at these period pieces here, that's how much you want to get paid out over time. So if you say I want to get paid out over 5 years, let's say that you have $75,000 saved up in your supplemental account. You take the 75,000, you divide by this factor. That factor is going to change. It gets higher based on the longer you want to get paid out, which means if it's a higher factor that you're dividing by, the amount you get paid out per month would be less. But let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is take 75,000. I'll use my cheap cell phone calculator for this. I won't put it on the screen, but 75,000. And I divide by 50.7617. Okay, here we go. So what does that say? 1477.49. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this $75,000 over to STRS. STRS says, you got it. We are going to pay you 1477.49 every month for 5 years, which is 60 months. So take the number in your calculator and you multiply by 60, and you can see how much money is totally paid out to you. And the amount paid out to you, I hope this is not a surprise after the first one, is more than the amount of money you gave them because they are earning interest, so they are required to pay you some interest. So, hey, look at that. I got paid 1477. That's enough with my pension to help me pay off my house. I feel great. Others of you who are going to buy a house now with the higher interest rates, you might be saying, Scott, I'm going to need that 10-year one. Okay, let's take a look. So if I do the 10-year, I still do the 75,000. Now I divide by 86.9540. And that says, oh, I'm only going to be bringing in 862.53 every month. But I get that amount of money for 120 months, so make sure you multiply by 120, and the amount of money paid out to you is over $100,000. You gave them 75, but because you stretched the time, you were able to make more total money. These are the periods, certain ones, the lifetime payouts. So again, a lifetime payout means I want the money to continue on forever. The factor is around 150, and it totally depends on your age at retirement. So again, that does change. I gave you a rule of thumb of about 150. I did just a analysis on the numbers they were quoting, and I came up with around 150 is a pretty good analysis. So if you wanted to get this 75,000 paid out forever, it'd be about 500 bucks a month forever. Okay. Let's see here. Some of you maybe you've talked with your spouse or partner about what happens if you pass away, but your pension benefits could be passed to a beneficiary as long as you elect one prior to retirement or death, whichever comes first, hopefully retirement. You must be age 55 years or older to elect an option beneficiary, and if you elect one and change it later, there is a penalty rate applied. Not that people want to do this. It does come up when a divorce happens that is unexpected. That's the most common piece. So, I'm 55 now. I'm married. This is great. But, I'm going to work for 7 more years. 4 years into it, your partner says, yeah, we're done. Well, at that point, you may want to change your beneficiary to say, no, I want it to be member only. Or you may remarry and want the beneficiary to go with your new spouse. Again, there will be a penalty rate applied. Let's see here. So see pages 15 to 17 of the handout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that handout that I sent you all the link for. And let me jump to it here. I'm going to show you why this is so important. It has all of the pieces in here from everything that I've done so far, but it includes, come on, let me get down here. Beneficiary options. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to, I think that should be sharing right now. There it is. Yes. So this is where things get a little strange for some people. Okay. So when you look at this number that's on the screen, this is your factor. Okay. So I'm going to take an example of, let's just say that I was 55 and my beneficiary's age was 50. Okay. Now let me see if I can zoom in on that. Give me just a second. That might not be great for some of you at home. Okay. Let me clear these. Clear off the drawings there. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm going to be 55. The beneficiary I want to leave the money to is only 50 at the time. This tells you if you want to leave 100% of your benefit to them, then you don't get your full benefit. You get 89.81% of the calculated benefit, which means you are going to lose 10.19% of your pension because you want to have it go to your surviving beneficiary after you pass away. Now, again, that's just say that was the $10,000 would have been just you. You don't get $10,000 now. You get $8,981 a month. If you don't want your surviving spouse or partner to have the full amount because you're like, hey, I want more money now, then maybe you say, I want them to have 75%. Notice it doesn't cost you as much, right? You get more of your base pension right now. That's great. And if you want to leave them only half, I mean, look at this. It doesn't cost you that much at all. Of course, when you pass away, they only get half of the money. Okay, so those are the differences between those three. Now, the reason I brought that up is if you waited, so if I'm 55 right now, I could pick this number. And if you've never looked at actuarial tables, my daughter is an actuary now, and I was on my way to doing the same thing, but here's the thing that seems a little screwy. If you look at an actuarial table and you look at what happens at age 55, if you look again at age 60, same two people, but they're now alive at age 60, which means surviving beneficiary would be 55. Notice it costs you more. Now I'm losing almost 13% gone because I want this to continue after I pass away. Why is that? Because anyone who lived from 55 and is still alive at age 60, the chances are they're going to live longer than this. So if they live longer than this, it's going to cost more. That's why they charge you more. And if you did continue scrolling down, I think these go up to age 70. So we'll play that game just one more time. If I was age 70, my surviving spouse would be 65. Look at this. Look what it costs you. It costs you about 20% of your pension to get that 100% guaranteed ongoing piece. So it's something where you want to at least make sure you understand what is happening with it. Yeah, don't save that. And we'll close that. So again, if you wait 5 years, you wait 10 years, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. All right, now comes the fun. Determine how much you actually worked for in that additional year. Now remember, you got a chance to see, hey, Scott, you're going to make an extra $1,000 a month. Yes, I do have to work one additional year to get that, right? So if I have not retired, I'd be working for a full year of salary. Now, for me, the monthly salary was 16,404.75. But this is where, for some of you, it might get a little mathy, but I want you to understand how this works. Monthly salary from section option multiplied by 12. Okay, so that's my annual amount. So I'm going to take my annual amount, which will be 16,404.75. I multiply by 12 to get the annual amount. Here's the thing. If you are paying money into STRS, that is a required payment that comes off before you get your cash at all, before you get your income. So you're going to lose 10.25% and you're going to lose your Medicare tax of 1.45%. When you take both of those, your factor becomes 0.883. So it looked like I was working for almost $200,000, but when I multiply by 0.883, I end up with 173,824.73. Okay. Now, that is what I would make if I worked that full year. That would be my income, 173,824.73. But I could have retired, right? So if I didn't and I retired that year I was making 9,142. So I'll go back to the calculator. 9142.47. Multiply that by 12. So take a look. 109,709. So 109,709.64. Top one's if I work. Bottom one is if I retire. So the frustrating piece as you continue working into your later years is you aren't actually working for 173,000. You're working for the difference because you would have had 109,000 already, which means you worked an entire year of your life and the difference that you brought in is 64,115. That is something you should at least be aware of. It's one thing to say I worked a whole year for 196,000 and they took my STRS, brought me down to 173. I made $173,000 that year. Well, no, not really. You worked all of that for $64,000. $64,000 that year. We're talking 10 years plus in the future. I don't know how many cups of Starbucks that'll be, but not a ton. So I want to give you a few cautionary tales, so at least you understand there are people who are workaholics. This is my old office mate. He retired with 42 years of experience. Final salary was here. That was back in 2016. I found the age factor, found the sick days. He had the longevity bonus because he qualified for it. And his DBS account had around $300,000, which is around an additional $2,500 per month. Total retirement pay was 15,667.70. Okay, I want you to understand that. So if he had retired, he would have made $15,000, over $15,000 per month. Working another year, his base salary would only have brought in $10,688.56. That man was paying $5,000 per month to keep working. And that is a level of commitment that I cannot even begin to fathom. Let's take a look at a different person. This person's 2% at 60. They only have 35 years experience. So some sick days. And Indy, I see your comments. Give me just a second. I'll be able to respond to those if you're still here. I think you are. Okay. Somebody left, but I don't think it's you. Um, so let's see here. The age factor 2.4. Boom, boom, boom. This is 2% at 60. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you examples of what does it look like for someone who's at 2% at 60 versus 2% at 62. So when we put all this together, here's my total retirement pay, 11,205. Working another year with STRS would be 11,038. Wow. So you notice how that's about 200 bucks a month? That's about 200 bucks Rand. I'm picking about 200 bucks just to estimate quickly. 200 bucks a month times 12 months. Okay, it's going to be about $2,000 that you're losing by working that extra year. You cannot get your time back. I don't care how much you cash it out for. Okay, let's take a look. Same information, 2% at 62. You would earn from CalSTRS 9127. That's about what my number was in the future. Working another year would be 11,000. Okay, so you actually made more money. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty, right? I made more money. Yes, you did. You did. You made $1,900 per month, about $23,000 per year, an average wage of $16 an hour. Folks, that's not even minimum wage today, not counting the fact that we're talking about 20 years in the future, 15 years in the future. So, is that worth it? That is something you have to decide. There may be other reasons for you to work an extra year. Maybe you want to keep your medical coverage for your full family that extra year because you're getting past and into the Medicare years. Again, that I don't know. It's up to each person, but it is something you should think about, right? I hope you do. If you take nothing else away from it, it should be really thinking about what do you want the last years of your life to look like. All right. Now, again, all spreadsheets, all activities will be available afterwards. I'll post them to a Canvas site. I'm going to click on this retirement gap analysis. If you do this under your regular account, it will absolutely deny you because it's going to say, what are you doing? You can't do that. And let me open it up here in my incognito browser window and then pull that sucker right over here front and center for everybody. All right, so here's what I did. Oh, trust me, this takes far too long. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this year after year, but one of the links you'll get is to this. I ask you, let me check the share feature, and it says anybody at MiraCosta can view. So you can view it, but you can't type anything in, which means if you want to type something in, just go up and say File, make a copy. Okay, make a copy in your Google. This takes into account everything I could possibly think of for your retirement. It takes into account your 2025-26 step, your class, what the COLA rate is that you're anticipating for the future. I am very conservative. I put 1%. It takes your contract days, how much overload you're doing in fall and spring total, and then if you do any in summer, I may have to add summer and winter because now winter has an intersession. Okay. How many years of service will you have at retirement? How much sick leave? Again, these numbers are what you would actually put in. Um, and then the age you turn during 2026, how much money you're putting into a traditional Roth, into a traditional 403b, Roth 403b, traditional, and Roth 457b. So you can actually put in all the money you're saving up. And age at retirement, this is 65, 6 months. And which retirement calculation do you have? 2% at 62 or 60? Everything's in here. I also included because somebody said, well, wait a minute, if I'm married filing jointly, I get a higher deduction and then it saves me on taxes. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, so I put it in there for you. If you don't want to use it, you could just zero it out. And it also has a DBS amount at retirement that's listed here as well. So when you come down, it actually shows while I'm working, here's my salary base pay and my overload. That does assume I'm getting 1% COLAs into the future. That's why it's much higher, if you're kind of looking at that. And I also put down 65, so it'd be 5 more years for me if I kept going with 1% COLAs. So my total income would be 303,000 if I worked the overload that I said I was going to. $303,000, $306,000 a year. It sounds like a ton. STRS is going to take 31,000. Medicare is going to take 4,500, and the fact that I'm contributing to the 403B takes 23,500. That drops me down to less than 250. Federal tax, again, I went through the federal tax rates. I don't know if I want to update these every year. They do change the brackets. It's close enough, probably. 37,000 in federal tax, another 15,000 in state tax brings me down at less than 200, and then my Roth contribution brings me down to 171. So if I was at that age and I was working this much and I was bringing home this much pay, my take-home pay is $171,000. Okay. Once I retire, it calculates your pension plus your DBS, assuming you want that to be infinite. It calculates your federal tax on your pension, assuming the correct brackets, and calculates from there your take-home pay. What you can see, well, what I hope you can see from this example is that the amount of money that I make while I'm working is more than the amount of money I will make when I'm retired. The gap right here is $33,000. That's my retirement gap. That's assuming that I want to make exactly as much in retirement as I made while I was working. That's why I call it the 100% retirement gap. The 80% retirement gap says, and this is what happens with most people, once I retire, I don't have the same level of expenses. It goes down. This right here is a very good thing if I wanted to earn 80% of my working pay. I'm at negative. Negative is good. It means I have more money than I will need. But some of you said, what would it look like, Scott, if I kept working? So I did put in tabs here. You just click on the tabs as you go. And the tabs will show you what happens if you work another year. Your salary went up, you made a little bit more money, but your retirement went up significantly. The gap is now down to 29,000. And 2 more years, again, your pay went up, but now the gap is down to 24,000, if you were looking at that. But remember, I was putting $23,500 away every year into both a Roth contribution and a 403B contribution. So that's like 47, $47,000 every year. I'll have plenty of money set aside for those. So again, let's see here. Oops, some things popped into the chat. Let's see here. Uh, let's see here. Where do I find the spreadsheet? Spreadsheet is in the slide deck. The slide deck will come out afterwards, Ignacio. So it will be available. You'll have access to it. No problem. And India, this is something I do for fun. I do this because I get really pissed off that MiraCosta doesn't provide anything like this for faculty. And I started doing this in 2013 because I asked questions about retirement and they couldn't answer a single one of them. So I started doing these sessions for faculty. For those of you who are like, well, Scott, how can I afford putting $23,500 away every month? The second spreadsheet that you have that I'm giving you, you're welcome, is you can say, it'll put in the same information, your step class, the age you turned in 2026, and then it will calculate what your salary looks like over time. It does assume a COLA. The COLA here is 1% that I typed in. You could say, Scott, I think we're going to get 2% COLA. Okay, fine. Put in 2%. Every single cell in here will change and update automatically. It will also give you the balance at retirement of your different accounts. Look at this. If I did this from age 35 till 62, I would have $2.5 million in supplemental retirement. I probably could have retired at age 60 with that much money in there. So again, start thinking about not just the money. Yes, the money is nice and it's important, but the time with your family when you're young, my goodness, that's huge. All right. I hope that if nothing else from this, you'll start saying, hey, I need to start thinking about retirement planning maybe on a fairly regular basis. The reason why you really want to do this is that the pay rates do change over time, contracts change. Um, so again, if someone was working on retirement in 2013, and I give this example because it actually happened, calculations showed, hey, I'm going to retire in 2018. New contract came out with different COLAs, and it meant that you should have checked in again. The initial plan said I would have made 85 in 2018. The reason why I bring it up is that's in 2018 from the calculation I made in 2013. If I don't look at it again, I think 2018 is when I'm going to retire. But if I'd analyzed it again, I came to this session or whatever. You don't have to come to these sessions. You can do this on your own. But what it looks like is, holy cow, if I retired in 2017, I'd only lose $20 a month. And that would save me a year of my life. Or you can work that extra year and get 4.3 cents per hour. That's totally up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. For some of you, you might really like that extra. You may love teaching so much. Okay, a couple questions that have come up over the last 2 years. Can I retire early but not claim STRS right away? The answer is yes. The age factor goes up, but you're losing out on the money coming in, so you got to be careful with that one. Can you start workload reduction, then stop and return to full service? The answer is yes, it's allowed by STRS, but all workload reductions are in negotiation with the district. And just remember, you'll be paid proportionately, so it's kind of like a trial run at retirement. Should I work until I'm 65 to hit that max age factor? I don't know. That's up to you. Maybe you think about that last phase of your life and you determine what's best for you and your family. I hope you talk to your family about this. What would work for us? As you think about your last few years at MiraCosta, consider reduced workload. It would allow you to, it has to be a percentage less than 100 and it can't go lower than 50. Um, but yeah, if you are participating, you can't work overload. That's another thing. If you do work overload now and you like that extra cash coming in, reduced workload may not be what you want to do. Okay. Yeah, but you get a full year of service credit. It's a pretty sweet deal. Let's see here. Under education code, a faculty member has to render a period of service. This is a big piece, equal to twice the period of the leave. So what has been happening lately is people are taking a sabbatical and they are unbanking and getting a full year off with full base pay. But what happens then is they get closer to retirement. You got to be very careful because the leave of absence, the amount of time you give back to the district has to be equal to twice the period of the leave. So people have asked, does an unbanked semester coupled with one regular load count towards the 2 semesters? The answer is no. The unbanking does not count as worked time and therefore does not go to the period of service. Here are some examples. And again, the slide deck will be available. You're welcome to do that again. So if you made a sabbatical in spring of 24, you did regular load, that's your 2 semesters, double the period, and you retire in 25. If you do the sabbatical and unbanking, the unbanking does not count as part of your regular load. You'd have to do 2 semesters of regular load, and then you could retire. Or, notice, do the sabbatical regular, then you unbank. Fine, that's fine. For some people, they look at that and they're like, doesn't it mean I retired in fall then? No. Unbanking counts as worked time in a sense, meaning you get fully paid for your base pay and counts towards your years of service. So that is different. And here's a couple of others if you wanted to do workload reduction. So preceding 5 years was regular load. Spring of 24, you unbank. Then you go 50%, 50%, and then you retire. So you have a sabbatical there. You got to get the full amount of time in there. So here we go. Let's take a look. Sabbatical and unbank. So I took a full year of service off. Then I could do 50% reduced workload, but it has to count as two full semesters, so one full year. So 50% and 50% gives you 50% for 1 year. You have to work another 50% year to get to one full year. And that's something that has come up that has really frustrated a number of people who are about to retire after they did a sabbatical, after they unbanked, and they realize, oh my God, you're kidding me. Um, I'm not kidding you. So don't end up like this poor minion. I'm going to retire and live off my savings. What I'll do on the second day, I have no idea. Please don't end up like that. Be like the pals, the minions who have some money, have the ability to make some decisions for themselves. And I really hope this was appealing. It's my minion catch. Um, and that you found this to be helpful for yourself. Again, everything that I have done here today will be available to you in a Canvas course. Um, my next session starts at 1, so I usually stick around and answer questions if any questions have come up. And yeah, so this is just, I guess, India, this is what I do for fun. Nobody else, nobody else does it. So I do it. Any other questions? Jonathan, hey, glad you stuck around for the second one.
Yeah, a lot over my head there, but it was good to get the ballpark.
Yeah,
So the slide decks, as Ignacio was asking, that's going to be available in a Canvas course, or is that going to be available to us in the Google Doc?
that's the same. It'll, well, not through the Google Doc, through the Google Slides. So
Through
the
the Google
slides
Doc.
will be available. Basically, I just put all the links in a Canvas course so that way I don't have to keep sending them out. And then,
Okay.
but it's through your Miracosta one, so just make sure you open that incognito browser and you'll be good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Let's see, what other comments do I have? Well, the emphasis on time cost. It is really important. Quality of life, when you get, I mean, look at your parents or your grandparents, whatever you can think back to. I remember my grandfather, he wanted to have $1 million. He wanted it so bad. And he ended up at like 980,000. And then that's when the Parkinson's kicked in, and all of a sudden, now where is he? He's in a home spending 8,500 a month. The money's draining out rapidly. And he really, at the time before that, he wanted 1 million, then he wanted to leave money to the kids, but he never got to the million. So he put money in front of everything else. The money then got like you had to pay it out because he had access to it. And so he didn't get to do what he really wanted. Um, and like I remember just those last 10 years of his life, they were not great years with grandpa. Um, forgetting everybody that you have in your life, forgetting that, not having relationships because you don't remember anybody. I I probably, if I could go back in time and ask him, he probably would have retired a few years earlier, not made as much money, and said, I'd rather have some quality time. I want to go fishing again with my grandkids. I want to go here or there. So again, these are all things to think about. I know maybe it got a little deep at times, but I I'm just I get frustrated when people sit around and talk about, oh, I'm going to work 10 more years. I'm going to make this much money. I'm like, okay, I mean, you're sitting around in your diaper, dude. I mean, seriously, right? You get older, things happen to your body that you don't want to happen, but they still happen to your body. So, yeah, it's great. I mean, your grandkids are in diapers and so are you. That's fantastic. Oh, but you can't see them because you're working all the time. So, I mean, congratulations on your extra $1,000 a month. I don't know what you're going to buy with it, a really fancy coffin, whatever. So, anyway, sorry. I'm tired. I was up till 4 finishing my slides because of all the curriculum, so I'm a little snarky today. But it's actually true, and maybe we just needed a few truth bombs today. Um, so let's see here. Somebody asked a question about the other sheets that I had open. So I'll bring those over and I'll share my screen again, and we can ask more detailed questions about those if you have some.
Hey Scott, you said you do, are you one-on-one sessions maybe?
Well, I've met with a number of people. Sometimes it's more they get closer to retirement, they kind of want to know more, or
Okay.
they never have talked about it. Some
Yeah.
people, I mean, I encourage it to be earlier, and I would encourage it to happen with your spouse or significant other to sit down and talk about why all of a sudden Ignacio's telling me not to spend as much money. We have the money. And you start saying, let's talk about what we could have in the future if we're willing to give up insert whatever now. That's the hard thing. That's the hard thing. Because you look around, I look around, I drive into this parking lot, I see faculty cars. No, I don't have a BMW. I've got my wife's hand-me-down Prius that has Cal Poly mom stickers on the back of it because she gets the new car. I get it. Happy wife, happy life. But I'm getting honked at by people who are like, that's stupid Cal Poly mom, and they drive by and it's a, 50-year-old Swedish cave troll. Then I'm like, hey, how you doing? I'm going as fast as I can. My Prius. Um, yes, could I? Do I have the money available to do all these things? Yeah, I do. But I'm not competing with my neighbors anymore. And I learned that before I moved down to California. I don't care what they have because I don't know what their debt level is. I never know what it is. My neighbor has an amazing house. They upgrade. They put travertine tile outside their home, leading up to a custom pool with a grotto cave with a waterfall over the front the kids can jump off of and a hot tub. Okay, I'm looking at that and I'm like, that right there is a retirement home in price that I'm going to have because I didn't do what they just did. I will be able to do something that they didn't. That to me is important. I don't, it's cool. That's great. They may make a lot more money than I don't know. But there was a question about the Roth and traditional. So if you use the retirement gap spreadsheet, and I believe I'm sharing my screen again. I think I am. Let me check. Sharing.
Yes,
Okay,
you
yep,
are.
it is. Okay. All right. So what I could do is I could say, hey, I want to save on taxes now. So if you come down here and you see I'm paying 37,000 and 15,000, right? That's a lot of tax. That's over $50,000 a year I'm paying. If I change my Roth 403B to 0 and change my traditional to 23,500, then assuming that everything actually goes through and calculates, my computer is loving Zoom today. Yes, please reload my site. Thank you. Did you do the recalculations? No, it hasn't done it yet. Oh, there it goes. Okay, 47,000 through all the different spreadsheets. So it does change how much you bring home. And actually right now it's 24.5, so I could up that. But if I move everything over to Roth, this is where things really hit people because they're like, "Oh, I'm paying so much in tax." Yeah, but I'm everything I earn, I get from that point forward. So if I do Roth on both of these, and you got to be careful, the Roth 457, you have to use Empower and you have to use this special service. It's not like the fees associated with it may make it not what you really want. So now my taxable income is 278. That went up because I'm having to pay tax up front, but my Roth contributions down here are afterwards. So that is why
Mm.
this dropped down. So again, it's six and one half dozen the other, maybe. Um, but again, depending on how much money you have in those accounts, if you have to take those required minimum distributions, oh shoot, I was just putting money in the wrong spreadsheet. See, this is what happens. I get caught up in everything, and I didn't want to do that at all. I wanted to do, yep. See what happened is these are all supposed to just be calculated based on gap estimate F4. So these are all automatic coming from this other sheet is what I should have done. Crazy kid. Who is this crazy kid? Equals.
There's a limit, right, for the Roth, and then they like if you make over a certain amount, if you're married,
Hmm.
you can't contribute. Is that how it is?
Yeah, so that was what my question was about. So once you hit that income,
Stupid video.
hi Ignacio, hi Jonathan.
Hey,
Um, when you hit that limit,
Uh-huh.
then you can do backdoor Roths, which is
You
something
can.
that I'm just slowly starting to learn about.
You can, but what you're talking about now is you're talking about Roths that are not linked to your employer.
Right.
So When I'm talking about putting $23,500 into a Roth, that's the Roth
Mm,
403B. That is 100% allowed. If I choose to put
mm,
money into a Roth individual retirement account, then there are income restrictions. Yes, that's in the first handout from workshop number one. If you scroll down, it'll tell you, I think it's 200 and the married
yeah,
filing
like
jointly
220, 230.
233,252, something like that.
Yeah.
So, um, there's limitations on when you can start and then they phase it out and then you can't do it anymore. So yes, what India said, you can do a backdoor, but there probably is a limit to how much you're going to put into a Roth. If right now I could put $49,000 into a Roth, thinking about trying to find a way to get another 7,500 into a Roth, probably not worth the effort. If you're like, look, I just want to put a bunch of money in a Roth, it's better to do it through the employer because you could put 49,000 in there instead of just
Huh.
7,500.
So okay, I thought they were. I thought it was like all the same, like a Roth,
A
whether
Roth
it's
is an account
individual.
type. You
Hmm.
can have, like, if you go, let's say you work here, but then you take a job working for Coca-Cola driving. I'm just making something up, right? And they offer you a 401k. That 401k can have a traditional or Roth option.
Hmm.
That's a 401k Roth. Miracosta doesn't have that because we're not a private entity. We have 403B and 457B. Both of those are available as a traditional or a Roth. So you
Mm,
could contribute the maximum amount. And again, I'm about to turn 50 this year. So if I turn 50, it's not, let me go back over here to my gap analysis here. It's not 24,500 India because I'm old now. I can actually put an extra 8,000 in, and that's
mm,
32,500, which I could do for both accounts. Honestly, it's going to be a tight squeeze to get an extra 8 grand into both accounts, $16,000 over the course of a year. That's going to be hard. I don't know if they'll be able to max them out this year, but take a look at what happened now. If you take a look, now what happened? My taxable income went down a little bit more because I put more money away. My taxes did go down, but not a ton. I'm at
mm,
48,000 instead of 51. I saved a little bit, but not a ton. And then my Roth contributions down here. So my take home working pay is 156. My take home pay over here. So what did I do? By putting the extra money away, my retirement gap went from 34,000 down to 18,000. But if you think
uh,
about that, it's because you don't have the money in your hand because I
mm,
reduced my take home pay. Not because I raised my standard of living, started buying a bunch more shit and made a bunch, sorry, that's a bunch more stuff, and I make a bunch more money. That's not what's happening. I'm making
mm,
the same amount year after year. I choose to put more away to retirement. That means I'm living on less. When I think about retirement, I don't need to earn those amounts. Let's go
mm.
up and do a quick little check. Let's go to the traditional Miracosta faculty. How much do they put away? I'm not rooting for the Oregon Ducks. That's a big friggin' goose egg. They put nothing into these other accounts. What does
Mm,
that say? That means they're not putting anything here. Look at their taxes now. I love that. I love looking at that. That's 59, that's $60,000 in taxes that person paid. Me doing all this other stuff, I ended up at what, 40, 47, whatever it was a minute ago? Okay. I
mm,
don't know. It's only money. I'd rather give it to the government as well. They're doing a great job. So after tax income is 210. I'm not putting anything extra. So my take home pay is 210,000. Think about that. Oh man, I'm living large. I can get that BMW M3 that I wanted. I can drive around. I can be the cool professor rolling up. Yeah. Let's start talking about retirement then. You have a retirement gap of $73,000 and you're not putting any money away to provide coverage for that gap. Even if you only took 80% of this salary, which based on your lifestyle, you can't afford to do that. But if you did, you'd still be in debt $30,000 a year that you can't afford to cover. So, what is it? It's the decisions that you make. Again, right now, I'll just say 24,500. So, some to the Roth, some to the traditional. This is what I think I'm currently at, is these two. And I got there by every time I got a pay raise, I didn't put 50%, I put 75%. So every time I put 75%, that means I got an extra $2,600 that year, which did feel like a raise. It did. It was like a little kick. But 7,800 went into the account. And look at this. Before long, if I keep doing that year after year, I've maxed out my account within 3 or 4 years. I
Um,
maxed out a retirement account. And you know what? Then I kick the extra stuff into the second retirement account. Before long, it doesn't take me that long. If I start at 35, I'm age 45 and I have maxed out both accounts.
mm, Scott, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I totally somehow missed knowing that those two accounts through Miracosta even existed. And with those accounts, should you retire before like before 60,
Uh-huh.
could you still pull money out of those? Like, does it still kind of work like a regular
Mm,
Roth where you can pull money out of that and not,
that's a great question.
yeah.
The 403B still has the limitation that you have 59 and a half.
Okay.
Now, it's a Roth, so you could pull out your taxed contributions in advance,
Okay.
just like any Roth. So that's the other difference, Ignacio. So when you put money away that you've already paid tax on, if you needed the money, you can go into that account and take the money, and there's no penalty. There may be a penalty from the account because you agreed to invest with them for something, but that's different. So Roth accounts I tend to encourage for younger folks. Um, what's great about a Roth is if you're saving up for a house, you can use the Roth amount as part of your down payment. You can't do that with your traditional retirement accounts. Um, yeah. So again, you have options. It's totally up to you. Um, yeah, but I mean, so just so we're all clear, basically that the difference, the one that I just showed you a moment ago, which was around $203,000 of take-home working pay. If I choose to put my money away, I'm not making 203,000. I'm making 169,000. That is a choice.
Mm,
Everybody has to make that choice for themselves. That's why I encourage sitting down with your spouse. If your spouse is not working, it's critical that they understand how much money is kind of coming in and why you're making the decisions you're making. If they are working, you may have to begin kind of talking about, hey, what do we want as our cutoff? I can put a ton into retirement here. You may not have those same options if you're working somewhere else. So,
mm,
I mean, Miracos allows two accounts. This is one of the first schools I've been at that allowed two different accounts, 403B and the 457. Many schools just offer one. They just offer the 403B. So it's a huge benefit. And again, if you get yourself financially into a place where you get diligent and you say, when I bring money in, I recalculate. This is how much I'm putting away now. I'm going to change that amount because I know I get this bump every time. Or this is with overload. This is with 15 overload in fall and spring, but no summer. If I zero that out, it takes me longer to get there because I'm bringing in less income.
mm,
So if I choose and I say, hey, I'm going to teach 3 units in spring and 3 units in fall, that's 6 LHE extra. Look at that. You just made 14 grand extra a year. You want to teach over the summer? Teach 6 over the summer. What'd you just make? Almost another 14 grand. Now you're up to 157 from what you were. Now you can max it out within 4 years. Now you can max the second one out within another 5 years. I mean, these are just choices you have to make. And there's other people who will look at this and say, why would I want $2.8 million, Scott? I'd rather have the BMW right now and be broke later. Choices.
I will
Everybody's
definitely
got
be hitting
choices.
you up to talk to you about this because I really am trying to be strategic. My
Okay.
last question, and I am staying on for your next session,
Hmm.
is around the beneficiary. So, um, what, like, can you make a trust a beneficiary or no? And because, like, your example was all about like a living spouse.
Yeah, typically. Um, I will say there are additional conditions if you choose not to make it a spouse or partner.
Okay.
So if you choose, let's say, Because some people say, "Oh, I've got my kids. I'd rather leave it to my kids." That is a beneficiary I believe you could choose, but again, then we're talking about the difference in ages.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you look at that factor, all of a sudden you're not making $10,000 a month in retirement. Are you willing to make significantly less in retirement so that they get that money through the course of their life? And I would
Mhm.
urge that to be a conversation that is balanced. You worked, you deserve to have a comfortable, maybe not lavish, but a comfortable retirement because you're the one who contributed. You want to save money and
Mhm.
leave it to somebody else. To me personally, it would almost be better to be putting that money into the Roth type of accounts because those can be passed down generationally without the same issues that come up with the pension. So, a lot of options.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Some of those, I am not a STRS representative. You're asking a detailed question. I would probably just defer you to STRS because I don't want
Yeah.
to steer you wrong. Many things I can read STRS information. I can see their formulas and I can create a spreadsheet. I mean, that's my skill set, I guess. Uh,
This is amazing. This is why I was asking you, do you do offer financial advising on the side? Because so this is my first year at MiraCosta as
oh, welcome.
faculty. Yeah. And I'm trying to be really strategic. So it's also my first time in a pension system. So I'm like also trying to learn what the hell the pension is. And it was really scaring me at first because I was feeling real stuck. Like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? Um, but I'm trying to learn more and to be strategic about the moves that I make. Even when you were talking about overloading and maybe you do teach a little in the summer. I mean, listen, my goal, Scott, I feel like I'm right there with you where I want to live as much as I possibly can. Going through COVID, having lost so many people,
Yeah.
I can't get that back. I'm not interested in putting work first in that way. But if I hear that, well, if you strategically work 6 summers or
Oh,
three
yes.
summers in a spring, and that can help me, then I'm like, okay, I'm working towards something that's
Correct.
bigger, and I know that I have a end period of
And
when I'm gonna stop.
that's what I think this second workshop, the one that we just finished, it's really
Hmm.
important to sit down with your loved one, spouse, partner, or whoever, family wise, even just talk about, look, here's what I'm planning to do. Because in the sense, a lot of people call this, winning the lottery, getting to Miracosta salary wise, significantly
Yeah.
higher than a lot of the schools in the area. South Orange is catching up if they're not caught up to us by now. But again, very high salaries compared to other states, very high salaries compared to everything else. If you're planning to live in Southern California, then you better have that because then when you retire and you get 60% of it, all of a sudden, I'm sorry, the state is not going to stop taxing us. They will not ever find a program they can't fund. They love the fact that they can spend other people's money and
Mhm.
there's no end to it. So, do I want to live here? I can't really consider long-term living in Southern California for my retirement because I could reduce my stress and retire sooner if I choose to live somewhere that has better taxation. You move to a state like Washington currently that has no income tax, you just
Mhm.
saved 10% of your pension payment right off the bat.
Mhm.
You stay in
Mhm.
California, you're going to pay 10% income tax on that pension. So if it's $10,000 a month, you just gave the state of California $1,000. If I go up to Washington state or another state that doesn't have income tax, I can now retire a year or 2 years early
Mhm.
because I'm not paying that. Even though I earn the money in California, they are paying me to wherever I live. If I don't live in California, I do not have to pay the income tax in California. So I am
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
to close the Zoom down just so we start a
Yes.
new one and feel free to log back in and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Awesome. Bye.
Thanks, India.